It's Jennifer, and my presentation today is Latino men in higher education. Um, I decided to go into the population of Latino men because I consider myself a Latino woman, um, and I can compare and see um, why is the Latino men in higher education such a minimal percentage, and why are they not going into a higher education, and so on. I can see that I wanted to know a little bit more because throughout my family there isn't many males that go into higher education. I think my brother is the only one that has a degree from college compared to my cousins, um, um, and and so on. So I want to talk to what is the first thing here is what is considered Latino masculinity. Um, I found two definitions here um, that kind of describes what I think a Latino masculinity is. Um, and the first one is masculinity is a social constructed designation of expected gender roles. And this could be either a white male, African American male, and so on, Asian as well. It is expected to play a role into saying, oh, you're the man, you should be the aggressive one, you should be the one that provides for the family, you should be out there working, and so on. And the second one here is Latino masculinity typically examines through the culture lens of machismo, and and I think that you cannot, if you ask anyone when it comes to Latino masculinity, um, we always assume that machismo is related, and it is, but but it can be a good thing or a bad thing, um, but obviously machismo is a huge thing when it comes to Latino masculinity. Um, and then, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, fewer college age males are enrolling into colleges than in the past year. And the degree attainment gaps between Latino males and females is widening. So there's less Latino males um, even um, graduating high school, enrolling into colleges, um, even getting a degree in college. The percentage is really it's getting lower as we go through um, through the years. So why Latino males are vanishing from higher education? What happens to them? Where do they go? Or why are they even doing this? Do they drop out of high school? So in 2004, I found this statistics here that 28.4% of Latino males were high school dropouts, as in compared with Latinas dropout rate with 18.5. Um, I mean, it's not a huge difference, but it makes a difference to know that there's a, there's a much higher percentage on males on their part to drop out of high school and not complete their education and go higher than that. So what happens to them? Where do they go? And most of the males are getting lower skills occupations, as in construction workers, because they think that's what they're supposed to do, because that's their masculinity makes them want to get. Oh, my father works in construction, and he doesn't need education for that. I'm strong. I can do this. I can do that. So they drop out of high school and start their low skills occupation, which makes them really high risk of um, of accidents too. Um, but um, but they play this persona of what they're supposed to be doing throughout throughout their masculinity, saying that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. this is what a man's supposed to be doing, not education, or not studying to be a teacher kind of thing. So less likely to graduate. So Latino men are less likely to graduate high school in comparison to Latinas. Latino men are more likely to begin their post-secondary education at a 2-year college, which is nothing bad. But I just found this source over and over again throughout what I was researching. And then they are more likely to depart without completing their academic goals. For example, earning a degree, certification, or transfer even to a 4-year university. The percentage of high school dropouts among Latino males and females. I found this article here. Men of color, ensures academic success for Latino males in higher education. So we see here that 18 to 24 years old, the male of less than high school graduating is a 34.2% compared as a female with a 27.1%. So I mean there is a gap there, that there's more percentage of males that have less than high school degree, and then there's some college would be again less males with a 25.9% compared to a female of 31.5%, and also a bachelor or higher would be males again having that low number of completing that degree. um, and I asked myself why, and why is that? So I found this four main parts of why a Latino man doesn't continue that high education, which is engagement, non-cognitive outcomes, the institutional, and masculinity. So the first one is the engagement. So the more a Latino works, less likely for them to be engaged, and this is, of course, meaning towards their education, and it's hard for them to balance out a job that requires them to be at work and working so many hours, as in construction. Again, we go back into construction because it's so many Latino males working into construction, so it's hard to balance them both out, and seeing that they can do both at the same time. And then positive perception of help seeking. This is a huge one. I think reinforcing behaviors of help seeking, the more likely they will to be engaged with a faculty, to say, hey, can you help me with this? What can I do with that? As we know that males tend to go back and say, hey, I can do this all by myself kind of thing, and reinforcing that, saying, hey, you can ask for help if you don't understand a problem. And then healthy competitive ethos. I think throughout this class we learned that males tend to be a little bit more competitive. So reinforcing that competitiveness towards themselves or classmates or friends, but in a positive and healthy way, to say, oh, let's get a good grade on this test, I want to get an A on this class, and so on, and say that it is normal. It's okay to be competitive, but in a good way, in a positive way. The non-cognitive outcomes, life stressors, of course, is one of them. Decreasing that life stressors makes it a little bit easier for them to go on to school, which is a little bit hard to manage that life stressors when some families do put pressure on their sons, saying, hey, you're the man of the house, you should be working, not studying, kind of thing, or why do you want to study to be a nurse, kind of thing, because there's full of just females in that degree, in that path. So they start putting like stressors on them and not able to understand themselves really much. So they start to push away that school degree. And the main one here is the school as a feminine domain. They some males do see that school as a feminine domain would be schools can be seen as a feminine space. Most of the teachers can be females. Um, that tends to make a Latino things or even see themselves in a positive way to say, hey, I can't be this. I can't study to be a teacher. That's not because it's just females. That's for a female kind of thing. Their pride tends to take over and say, hey, that's not for me because it's just women working here, kind of thing. The sense of belonging to um, it's mostly like a source of motivation to say, hey, you do belong here. Faculty caring for them and saying, hey, you do belong. Um, you can study this and still be masculine as you want to be. It doesn't matter if you're surrounded by females. You're okay. Um, so institutional by that means suburban colleges equals higher graduation rates and so on, and this varies throughout states. Um, but this masculinity is a big one. So what is masculinity again? Masculinity is a social constructed designation of expected gender roles. So as a Latino man, machismo comes into place that prevents students from asking for help, saying, "Oh, I'm I'm a man, and I can do this all by my own," um, and they start to having those emotions of not wanting to go to their professor and acknowledging they don't know something. Um, so it's a big, huge thing to acknowledge them, saying, "Hey, it's okay if you don't understand this. It's okay to ask for help." And again, this machismo prideness comes into place. Um, and then we go into Latino men have difficulty expressing emotion that will reveal vulnerability of their academic performance. And it is very true. The more vulnerability they can get and difficulty expressing their emotions, their academic performance are very, very low. They start thinking, oh, it's not for me. I shouldn't be asking for that help. I can just work. I can just be like my father, work and not do this and do that kind of thing. And caballerismo is really serves as a pull factor for Latino men, and caballerismo goes into machismo, um, and I think they can combine each other. And for the people that don't know what caballerismo is, it's mostly like men that are really family orientated, really polite, really like, oh, I need to open this door for the woman to pass to for this lady, kind of thing, and it's like good manners, and it can have a huge play in their role into education. And then I included health because, like I was saying, with low skilled jobs as a construction worker or agriculture comes with higher risk of injuries and stress, of course. Stress, as in working more hours than they should have, and injuries. So they're less likely to seek medical attention, which the later on can convert into a chronic pain because they don't want to seek medical attention. Say that if a person does, if a Latino man injure their back, they're like, oh, let's take you to the hospital. no, I'm okay. My back is fine. I'll tough it up. Or if they feel like they need to get seen, they get embarrassed by saying that, oh, this guy can't even tough out because he freaking broke just a finger, kind of thing. So it goes into that. Um, and then Latino with education, I feel like it can fix some stuff. With education, can facilitate awareness of how power defines relationship with others, and the the ideologies of where machismo comes, the domination of women, emotional distance, um, and so far they have so much um, uh, emotions that don't know how to express it, which tends to take a pull of them, not just emotionally, but their health, their education, their well-being. And I think it's a huge thing to understand that um, that education can help out with some of these thoughts and how to control those emotions too, and to say that it is okay to express these emotions. Um, so in conclusion, I decided to just say what maybe we can help out with, and to increase those numbers. So it is essential to recognize and acknowledge that we can no longer remain silent about this growing epidemic. We are um, compelled to raise awareness of this issue at all level education throughout the years. We should say, hey, there is a low percentage of Latino men, and I think now it's mostly men that are decreasing now with education, with higher education. So it is a great idea to say, hey, we should encourage them a little bit more into continuing their education. And then the last one would be Latino family and communities have to embrace this social justice agenda. And I think family is plays a huge role too. I've noticed that um, some Latino families encourage their daughters more than they encourage their son to continue their education, and they put pressure on the son saying, hey, you should be working and not studying, kind of thing. You should be providing for the family. That's what males do in our family. So we should provide that education in this in the Latino family and communities, to just embrace that saying, hey, males can also get their high education. They can also be a teacher and not be looked as less masculine as any other males out there. And then the last one would be support the next generation of Latino males. And if you are a Latino male and you graduate with any kind of degree, I think the next step is to support the next generation of Latino males and continue to do so, so we can increase those numbers and help out. So yeah, so my citation page is here. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a little bit. I did not include my email. If you guys do have any questions, pretty sure you guys can find my email through my name. And if you guys don't, I think it's JMALDO number 16 at msudenver.edu. Thank you. Have a great one.